Picture this: you're 13 years old, and the most powerful organization in the world hands you a mission that would haunt most adults for life. But instead of hesitation, instead of doubt, you execute it with surgical precision. More than 500 people die by your hand, and when the smoke clears, you don't shed a single tear. You don't question the order. You don't even blink. You simply report back for your next assignment. This is the story of Rob Lucci, the most obedient man in One Piece. Now, I've spent countless hours analysing characters who represent unwavering loyalty, and let me tell you something that most people completely miss about Lucci. Everyone talks about his strength, his devil fruit powers, his role as CP0's strongest agent, but they're looking at the wrong thing entirely. Lucci isn't remarkable because of what he can do. He's remarkable because of what he cannot do. He cannot question, he cannot doubt, and he cannot break free from the system that forged him into the perfect weapon. The world government didn't just recruit Rob Lucci, they created him. Let me take you back to where it all began. At an age when most kids are worried about school, 13-year-old Rob Lucci was handed his first real assignment. A group of pirates had taken 500 soldiers hostage, and the world government faced a choice: negotiate, attempt to rescue, or eliminate the entire situation. They chose option 3, and they chose Lucci to carry it out. Lucci didn't just follow orders, he embraced them. Those hostages were acceptable casualties in service of what the world government called justice. By the way, if you like these kinds of breakdowns, consider subscribing. I do these every week, and that way you won't miss the next one. Fast forward to Enies Lobby, and we see this conditioning in full display. Rob Lucci begins as an undercover operative of the CP9 working on Water 7 as a shipwright. His mission: serve the world government by retrieving the Pluton blueprints. He accepts orders without question and gets ready to execute them ruthlessly. But once the Straw Hat pirates expose the infiltration and the mission shifts into open confrontation, Lucci steps fully into his assassin identity at Enies Lobby, demonstrating ruthless discipline. He floods the Judicial Island's tower, confronts the crew without hesitation, and adheres strictly to his orders to extract Nico Robin for the government's use. Therefore, this marks his first visible assertion of absolute obedience, not only to CP9's mandate, but to the institutional will of the world government, sacrificing any empathy, moral hesitation, or personal ambition in favour of fulfilling mission parameters. But here's where the story gets really interesting. Luffy defeats him. The tool that was supposedly unbreakable gets shattered by a rubber boy who fights for freedom instead of orders. This is where most characters would experience some kind of awakening, some realisation that maybe they were on the wrong side, not Lucci. Rather than becoming a rogue or rejecting his duty, Lucci accepts the consequences, shows no rebellion, and ultimately is reinstated, later elevated into CP0, the highest tier of Cypher Pol, implying that his obedience, rather than his success, is what was valued by his superiors. Someone who could take a crushing defeat and emerge more committed to the mission than before. After the time skip, and into the Reverie and Egghead phases, Lucci was faced with higher complexity. His orders come directly from the 5 Elders and Celestial Dragons. During the Reverie, Lucci appears as part of CP0, the world government's top intelligence on enforcement unit. But when the world noble Saint Charlos attempts to abduct the mermaid princess Shirahoshi inside Marajua, Lucci intervenes at Charlos's side. He stops Leo and Sai from intervening and states that the world nobles are sacred like gods with rights above ordinary rulers. Lucci demonstrates that he not only accepts but vocally defends the notion of the celestial dragon's divine status and is prepared to enforce their will, even lethal enforcement. Further, when King Neptune of Fishman Island prepares to attack Charlos and CP0, Charlos orders Lucci to kill Neptune, but the assassination does not proceed because another world noble, Don Quixote Miosgard, intervenes, saving Neptune. Therefore, this incident is concrete evidence that Lucci is directly willing to carry out lethal action on the orders of the Celestial Dragons, even when it involves a king of a nation. Moving into the Egghead arc, Lucci again appears in CP0 and is dispatched to Egghead Island with missions tied to the scientist Vegapunk and the research base, as well as the Seraphim weapon programs. But Lucci enters the arc with explicit orders from the highest levels of the world government and the world nobles to eliminate or control Vegapunk and deploy Seraphim units against emerging threats. Therefore, Lucci's role underlines that his obedience extends from the Celestial Dragons down through the chain of command. He is the executor of their will on high-priority global operations. In Egghead, he personally confronts agents like Stussy for betrayal, takes control of Seraphim operations, and directly fights the Straw Hat Pirates when the government's interests are threatened. But the presence of his longtime CP9 partner Kaku alongside him and suggestions of Lucci's protective attitude toward Kaku add a dimension to his obedience. While Lucci remains totally aligned with the Celestial Dragons, he also shows personal investment in his comrade's fate. He paused his mission report to the Gorosei member Marcus Mars and made a rare personal plea: please spare Kaku's life. But Mars immediately rejected that request, stating coldly that sparing a single insect is impossible when exterminating the hive. Therefore, the combination of his unhesitating obedience to the Celestial Dragons, plus his responsibility toward Kaku, underscores Lucci's character as one who executes the world's highest orders, and does so even when personal loyalty to a partner is involved. But in never faltering, in never diverging from his orders, he gave up the right to self-determination, to identity beyond instrumentality. He became a weapon rather than a man. Powerful, disciplined, unyielding, and yet incomplete.